With the arrival of version 17 and 17.1, ACT has released the newest and most intelligent version of the #1 best-selling contact and customer manager to date. In this video, we'll show a list of enhancements and improvements in this latest version of ACT. In version 17, the Connections view was renamed the Marketplace. Here in the left nav, you can click the Marketplace button to learn more about integrated services and features of ACT. There are also some new Smart Task options within ACT version 17. Smart Tasks now work with limiting user access and also using ACT e-marketing triggers. The way to look at this is to go to Schedule, Manage Smart Tasks. Now when editing a Smart Task, there are two new steps that you can use. One of them is Edit Access List. This new step allows us to use Smart Tasks to set access criteria on fields. Also, if I create a new Smart Task, I can show that Smart Tasks can now trigger activities based on e-marketing criteria such as a call list score. For example, I can click a call list name here. I'll choose the 4-for-1 tire special, and I want this to trigger when it has a score greater than 50. In version 17, ACT has made some real advancements with ACT e-marketing. One of these advancements is in the Sender Profiles area. When you upgrade to the Team Service level, ACT gives you the ability to personalize the name that appears in the From field of an e-marketing email sent via an email campaign or Smart Task. The way that looks is when you send an email, you can now choose who you want to send it from. This frees up your salespeople and your executives to do the things that they do best while you send out the emails for them. Also in version 17, we can use the Lead Capture tool to create web forms and capture leads from web pages, newsletters, and more. In the Groups area, we can select a group and then click the Lead Capture tab and then use this Create Web Form button. Now we can design our web form. And click OK. To use this web form, all we need to do is copy this link and put that in an email message, or copy this HTML code and put it on our website. This is how it will appear on the website. As users enter their email address here and click the Submit button, they'll be added as contacts to this group. You can then use this group for your e-marketing campaigns. In ACT version 17, Outlook synchronization has been simplified. Now you can choose the synchronization method before you choose the contacts or activities you want to sync. By going to our Outlook synchronization preferences, we can see that there are two tabs here, one for synchronizing calendar and one for synchronizing contacts. Before you do anything else, now you just select a synchronization method. There are two different types. One-way synchronization, which is synchronizing ACT to Outlook. This means that you can send contact and calendar information to Outlook without sending Outlook information back to ACT. Two-way synchronization is synchronizing ACT and Outlook with each other. When selecting two-way synchronization, you'll need to instruct ACT what to do when you have a conflict between either contact or calendar records between ACT and Outlook. In version 17, we've made a change to the Global Preferences update. With one click, you can set Outlook email, word processor, and Startup View preferences as the default for all existing and new users. Let's say I wanted to change the word processor to be Microsoft Word for all users. I'd go to Tools and Preferences, and then I'd click the Communication tab. I already have Microsoft Word selected, but now this Update button will apply this to all users and save this as the default for new users. And there we go. You can make global changes like these for the email and startup view for all users. Another enhancement in version 17 is the contact timeline. When viewing the detail view of a contact, you can click the Timeline tab, and this will give you a view of your contact interactions at a glance with an interactive visual timeline. You can set a date range here, or you can stretch this slider to view multiple dates within a single screen. Any of these interactions can be clicked on to view their detail view. In ACT version 17.1, we've changed the way duplicate checking works in importing. Previously, the duplicate checking was handled only in the Tools Preferences area, but now it's been added to the import process so that you can review and change your duplicate checking settings without having to back out of the import window. This feature has been added to both Windows and web. To view it, we go to File, Import, Next. Let's say we want to import an Excel spreadsheet, and it's going to be contact records. Now on the Import Type screen, we have this duplicate checking button. By clicking this button, we can now check our duplicate checking criteria before deciding whether we want a typical or a custom import type. Also in ACT version 17.1, each user can choose what the default history type will display. To look at this, I'm going to go to a detailed view of a contact, and I'll click on their History tab. When I right-click in the History area and select Record History, we'll see that the default type is currently a call. However, I'd like to change it to meeting so that every time I create a new history, it automatically defaults to meeting type. Okay, so we can do that by going to Tools, Preferences, Startup tab, and then in this History section, we'll change this from call to meeting and click OK. Now when I want to record a new history, we'll see that the default type has changed to meeting. It's important to know that this change in the default history type only affects each individual user. This change doesn't affect everyone globally. In ACT version 17 and 17.1, there have been some improvements made to the Documents tab as well. Previously, we could add files to the Documents tab by right-clicking and selecting Add. But now, we can add shortcuts to folders on your computer or even URLs to the Documents tab. The way to do that is to use the Add button and select Shortcut to Folder. Here, we can locate a folder on our computer, select it, and click OK. ACT will add a shortcut to that folder on your computer to your Documents tab. Now when you double-click this item, it opens up a Windows Explorer pointing directly to that directory. Also on the Documents tab, we can click Add Link. And now we can put an address in there. Now by double-clicking this link, it opens up that website in your default browser. In version 17.1, there have been some changes made to ACT eMarketing. One of the simplest changes you'll see when you send an email. Now in the Send Email Campaign dialog box, you can see exactly how many contacts you can reach under your current monthly limitation. Also in version 17.1, there have been some changes made to the call list. Now you can save time by performing common tasks directly from the call list. For example, when I click a call list, I can select multiple contacts from this list, and then I can click this Create History button to create a new history record for each of these contacts. I can also schedule an activity with each of these contacts by using the Schedule Activity button. These options are both useful when making calls from the call list page, allowing you to create history items so that you'll remember that you've already made the call. It's also useful for when you don't have time to make the calls, but you want to remind yourself later to call certain contacts. You can create an activity here. Now in version 17.1, both in Windows and web, you can create drop-down fields within the Edit Field window. Previously, you had to create the drop-down list first, then you could create the field and select the drop-down list. It was backwards to intuitive thinking. Now, whenever we're editing a field within a window, we can use drop-down list. And from here we can either choose a previous list or we can create a new one. Now I can add this field to my layout. And my new drop-down list has been added. In version 17.1, we've added a new notifications preference. This is in Windows only, and you can reach it by going to Tools, Preferences. There's a new Notifications tab here, and there are two types of notifications. There are Act announcements, and then there are other announcements, custom messaging sent by the administrator. The Act announcements come from the Act promotions team about events or special offers. By checking this box, those announcements will appear for all users when they are published. Custom messaging comes from your administrator. Here, each message should be titled, and then you can leave a message and a URL if you desire. You click Apply and OK, and that message will be scheduled to go out to all users. To see your notifications, go to the Help menu and select Act Notifications. Here we see a product one and the custom one that I just created. In Act version 17.1, it's now possible to customize the big buttons at the top of the screen. This can be done by selecting the Global Toolbar Options button. Now you can simply hide or show any buttons that you don't want to see. Let's say I want to remove Note, History, and Email from the top. I can click OK, and those buttons disappear. Likewise, you can reorder any of these buttons if you want. If I want to move History up in front of Note, I can do that too. Now History is next to the Note on the left side. And finally, you can also hide this universal search. This makes it easier for your users to have access to the buttons that they use most. In version 17.1, there have been some changes made to the web info links as well. If I go to a detail view for company and I click the Web Info tab, previously the web info links were stored as a file on the end user's computer. Now, they're stored in the database so that everyone else in your office will see the changes to the Web Info tab. Web Info is a powerful tool to connect your database to the internet in a meaningful way. Now, any changes that you make to these links on the Web Info tab will be made for all users. As a result of this change, this resets all Web Info links and requires you to set them up again. One final change in Act version 17.1 is the installation of SQL 2014. This will install SQL 2014 on machines that do not currently have SQL installed. This will not install SQL 2014 on Windows XP or Vista, and this will not update any current version of SQL. SQL 14 can be used in a mixed environment, but the server must be the lowest version. For example, if any of your remote users are using SQL 2008, your server must be on 2008. If you have users using version 2008, 2012, and 2014, your server still must be on version 2008. SQL 2014 is for new installs on version 17.1 only. Upgrading from version 17.0 to 17.1 will not require a SQL upgrade.